Alright, this is the third lesson in Unit 1. And this lesson specifically is just looking at AICE questions. So taking all the skills you've learned from lessons 1 and 2 and applying them to real life AICE problems. So basically this lesson starts up with a warm-up, which is just a previous question. We just do one example taken from the miscellaneous exercise number 5, and then from there you're going to practice from miscellaneous 1. If you're not familiar, OCR in the textbook means that it's a previous Cambridge question, and they're the ones that we're going to focus on today. The objectives really just come from specifically what it said originally in AICE. Remember the things that you have to be able to do, and you can read them there, and that'll tell you if you are ready and fully understood everything that was in this unit. We're going to skip straight through the warm-up and the homework, and we're going to get straight to the key question for today. So find the value of a for which x minus 2 is a factor of that equation there, and show that for this value of a, the cubic equation has, and then give a cubic equation, has only one real root. So it kind of looks like a question we're familiar with. Certainly the part at the start looks like one we did the last lesson. The part at the end looks a little bit different. And that's normally the thing with the AICE. There'll be a part that you recognise and a second part that's probably unrelated to this unit specifically. So if we know that something is a factor, then we can know that if we plug in the root, then we should get a remainder of 0. So where it says x minus 2 is a factor, I know that that means that 2 is a root, positive 2. So wherever I see x in this equation here, I'm just going to substitute in 2. And I'm going to set it equal to 0. And then once I start simplifying this, I should come up with a linear equation, which I should be able to easily solve for a. And therefore show the value for a, and the answer is negative 6. Now use that then into this equation. So instead of writing ax squared now, we can actually say that a is negative 6. So we're going to divide this into this equation here, because what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and fully factor it. This question says that it only has one real root. That suggests then there's only actually one factor. So we'll see how that turns out in a second. Let me get my erase function on here. So I've done the opposite of the negative 2 and put positive 2, and I've took all the coefficients from the question. So the first one, I'm just going to bring the 3 down, multiply the 2 and the 3 together, and that will give me 6. When I add these two together, I get 0. When I multiply those back together, I get 0 obviously. 1 adds 0, 1 times 2, and obviously I get a remainder of 0 because that's what we would expect for a question like this. Remember what this actually means. This actually means then that it is 3x squared plus 1. Now we can try and solve that equation. Oh, you could try factoring first, that's probably not going to work. So let's try solving it equal to 0. And you can bring the 1 to the side, get negative 1. You can divide by 3 and get 1/3. Of course, you're not going to be able to do a square root with something that's negative, because that's going to give you an imaginary answer from Algebra 2. Notice, of course, in the question here, it doesn't talk about imaginary roots, it only talks about real roots. So there's no additional roots for this question, except for the positive 2, which we found in the question. Therefore, that would be the only answer. Now, you're going to find a variety of questions when you come to do this exercise. So this is kind of a really important one. There are going to be parts that you're not going to be able to complete, but you want to try as much as possible on these questions. I suggest you start at question 3, go through to question 11. You don't have to repeat number 5 because we've just done that. If you have time or if you need additional practice, the more questions you can do on this, the better. I know the questions go up to about 25. You certainly don't need to do as many as that, but the more questions you do, the better prepared you will be for the test at the end of this unit, but also for the AICE exam itself. And I think that will do it for this lesson, actually. That should be good. Oops. So, as usual, make sure you go practice. There we go. As usual, make sure you go practice. Look at the links at the bottom if you need additional help, and that'll do it for this video.